I think one of the metrics or one of the data points that you saw was just on how much, so some of the predictions around how much I believe was procurement was going to be happening through agents in the future. And you think about what does that look like when it comes to security and governance and collaboration. So love your point of view on that.
Gartner did predict that by 2028, and keep in mind that's only 3 years from now, 90% of B2B buying, which will equate to about $15 trillion, will flow through some sort of AI agent exchange. It's procurement agents talking to vendor agents, it's financial agents exchanging data with customer agents, and it's all going to happen autonomously. So that's a huge trend that we need to be mindful of and frankly to be prepared for.
But now today, I mean, it's almost, as I sometimes like, data governance is cool. We've been waiting for decades for this. And it just feels like it is becoming to the forefront. I don't know, Mike, does that track with what you've seen sort of in your role as CISO? Like, there's just always been this big focus on structured data, and now it's just unstructured because that's the unlock for AI in many respects.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I think for a long time, historically, CISOs and their teams have prioritized structured data in governed databases. It's been historically the focus of anything that looks or smells like data governance. There's also research that shows that the vast majority, to your point, of AI interaction, and we those of us who've been using LLMs or whatever, LLMs act on unstructured data as well. But once the data is extracted into some sort of unstructured format, all bets are off. Then you lose complete control. They get copied. They're really, really easy to move. And this stuff is being stored in so many different areas, so many different ways. So the emerging risk landscape, frankly, is the new risk frontier is unstructured data. So it does create a pretty silent exposure risk. And I think this has been historically under prioritized when you think about things like data exposure, because inbound threats, and probably rightfully so, but inbound threats like phishing or ransomware, they've dominated due to the visibility and urgency. But I guarantee you most organizations have an outbound unstructured data leakage problem. It's a slow bleed. And with everything else that's going on and all sorts of resource constraints and behavioral inertia, this is a really, really big problem and a growing problem as we become more and more dependent on the governance of unstructured data. I mean, AI governance basically spans 3 areas. There's your policies and controls, which are basically the rules. There's your governance operating model, which is things like who decides, who's accountable. And then there's your oversight systems and your controls, hopefully a good, decent technology that enforces and monitors how it's being used. And I think the problem is that a good bit of the industry and many CISOs and their teams are stuck on number 1. They're trying to write policies, to your point, and they're trying to write policies that adhere to so many different scenarios. And we all know how highly variable these scenarios are going to be. But the business is already racing ahead of deploying their tools. They need the AI to have operational efficiency and to enable new business models. So my personal capability that I would recommend that we at least focus on, and we'll talk about this in actions a little bit too, is that we've got to start shifting our focus to the operating model. And maybe part of the operating model, and again, trying to figure out a way to do this without boiling the ocean here, is to try to think about those different operating model components in the lens of use case criticality.
Maybe walk us through why is that the first one? Why is mapping the company's external data flows so important at this juncture, at this point in time?
Yeah, I think it harkens back, Mark, to what we talked about before about a lot of companies have done this and are pretty good at doing this on the structured side. Maybe the way that their line of business, an ERP or MRP system, interacts with downstream supply chain partners, or maybe there's order processing or what we used to call EDI types of data flows that occur. But where this is lacking, and again, where agentic AI is going to really, really be shine from a value perspective is on the unstructured side. So I think the action, the strategy and knowing this is nothing without action. I think that one of the quick things that we can do is maybe this could be a 30-day sprint or something, but quickly look at this from an unstructured perspective. It would start by inventorying all your external sharing channels. How much data is leaving your organization through things like SharePoint, Teams, managed file transfer, email? Most organizations are not aware that there's more email attachments leaving their company still. This is a 20-year-old problem, but it's still happening because it's the easiest thing to do from a user perspective. Identify the top 10 business processes that involve external collaboration, things like vendor onboarding, customer support, partner integrations. Think about that from a business lens. Then map the data flows in those processes. What data is shared, with whom, via what channel, and what governance. Then you'll start to see the gaps. Where do you have zero visibility? Where do you have some visibility but no control? Where are your policies unenforceable in those scenarios? And maybe the outcome of the deliverable would be some sort of heat map that shows your high-risk external data flows that don't have any governance, because that could be your hit list for addressing this moving forward.